Hi, everybody. Jimmy DeYoung. Welcome to Prophecy Today video. Last week was Passion Week in Jerusalem. It was also the time of the Jewish feast Passover and Unleavened Bread. This year, Easter, or Resurrection Sunday, and Passover and Unleavened Bread coincided. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But first, let's look around the world at the geopolitical events that have been setting the stage for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled in the last week or so. Very interesting to have a conversation with David Dolan about how the Passover and Easter celebrations are coinciding in Jerusalem, but high security is the name of the game as the state of Israel endeavors to protect the Christian pilgrims and the Jewish pilgrims.
Well, that's right, Jimmy, and of course it's not that unusual that they coincide because, of course, Easter is based on Passover. We all know that the Lord was crucified during Passover, and his Last Supper was a Passover Seder, was a meal that all the Jews were celebrating at that time with his disciples, and of course he rose from the dead during this festival. So it has great significance, but Gurion Airport experienced one of its highest ever volumes of people coming into Israel. So the security forces were on alert then, and of course will remain on alert through the holiday season to protect all the tourists that are there, all the visitors, the pilgrims, the Jewish people that have come for Passover. It's been relatively good so far. We only pray that it will remain that way.
David Dolan. We'll have more on Passover and Resurrection Sunday in just a moment here on Prophecy Today video. Colonel Bob McGinnis gives us a look at geopolitical activities around the world. He does that as he looks at the Iraqi elections and what may well be some time before we have the final results.
The reason that there's not a great deal of decision, it would appear to be, the March 7th elections, of course, resulted in a split of the 325 parliamentary seats, 91 going to Ayad Alawi, who is the head of the Iraqi coalition, and basically his support is nationalist and Sunni-based. He got 91 of the total numbers of positions in parliament. Now, he was followed by the current prime minister, Nuri Maliki, and Maliki, of course, had 89. He is a Shia and ran on a Shia ticket. So it would appear at this particular point that there's back and forth. It's interesting that Maliki is protesting going to the Supreme Court. Certainly others are trying to disenfranchise some of those in the Alawi camp that were elected because they're saying that they indeed were former Baathists close to Saddam Hussein. And so if they could eliminate some, then constitutionally the largest, or the party with the largest number of positions in the parliament can form a government. It's all up in the air at this point, and we'll have to wait and see.
The results of the Iraqi elections have to play a key role in end-time Bible prophecy because Babylon, the city of Babylon, located on the Euphrates River 58 miles out of downtown Baghdad, will be a major player, Revelation chapter 18. These elections setting the stage for that Bible prophecy to be fulfilled. Dr. Rob Congdon covers the European Union for us and reports on the visit by Chancellor Merkel of Germany in to meet with Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan in Turkey.
Well, the tensions there are very apparent, especially if you've been into Germany. Germany has a large Turkish population, and the Germans have been very strong in saying, we want you in our society, we're glad to have you, but learn the German language, become part of our society, and integrate into it. But Erdogan and the Turkish government are saying, no, you need to create special schools for our people and allow them to really maintain their Islamic ways is really at the heart of this. So there's this internal German problem that then spills out into the whole discussion of should Turkey be a full member in the EU. Obviously, Merkel, representing her German constituency, says, no, let them have something less than full membership, recognizing the need of Turkey in the EU, but not wanting to give them full rights. And so what you have is this ongoing tension between them, and part of it is stemming almost purely stemming from local German problems.
Turkey is one of those in the list of nations that will come against the state of Israel. They'll form a coalition. They will align themselves against Israel. Turkey is mentioned as Persia in Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 5. After 1936, that region called Persia was divided into three states, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iran. That's why they are major players in the end-time scenario. Rabbi Yehuda Glick in Jerusalem this week was very much upset because the Israeli Supreme Court denied the Jewish people the opportunity to do a Passover sacrifice on the Temple Mount. He has been doing something about that and is ready for next year.
Actually, in the last month and a half, I have been running a campaign calling people to sign in and to announce that they would like to bring the Passover offering. And that is because the Passover offering is the first commandment we received from God when we were redeemed from Egypt. But we are definitely fortunate enough to see that many, many people in the past, I would say last year when we first time, we actually signed people in to bring an offering. We had collected 1,000 signatures. Today, this year, we had over 10,000 people who have paid the 12 shekel and actually registered to be part of that offering if we were to be able to bring the offering. And we believe that we are the path of redemption, the path of this special messianic era we are all living in, is definitely it's a procedure. It's happening step by step, just when we began 20 years ago in the Temple Institute, and trying to get as far as we can to touch the hearts of humankind, of mankind, to the understanding of the need to reunite the peoples of the world around the one and only God.
Rabbi Yehuda Glick, and the Passover sacrifice on the Temple Mount is essential. In order to be able to do that, they must have a temple on the Temple Mount. All the preparations have been made for that temple. In fact, there is a campaign going on buses throughout the entire city of Jerusalem, and in particular, the eastern section of Jerusalem. There has been a campaign on the sides of the buses calling for the third temple to be built on the Temple Mount. Yoel Karen reports.
Yeah, the leftist media here is really, it's funny. They're all up in arms about it, and who do these right-wing fanatics think they are? But the public reaction to it has been great. You can see people staring and pointing and giving bravos when they see these. I couldn't believe it the other day. Before I saw it on the news, I was out walking around Jerusalem. This bus goes by, and there's this massive picture of the temple on the side of the bus. And, of course, it's from the what's called the Eretz Israel Shalanu political movement, the Our Land of Israel movement. Again, it's just putting the temple out there.
Rabbi Yoel Karen about the bus campaign for the third temple in the city of Jerusalem. Well, all of these are interesting bits of information, but I got to go back to the conversation I had with David Dolan. Passover and Easter coinciding. Passover, go to the book of Exodus, chapter 12. You see the record of the first Passover. They sacrificed a lamb. They took the blood of that lamb, painted the doorpost, so that the death angel would pass over their home. And if indeed the doorpost was not painted with the blood of a sacrificed lamb, and then the firstborn of that family would be killed, and that was the last judgment upon Egypt before Moses was allowed to take the Jewish people and make their exodus going towards the promised land. By the way, Jews do rehearse that. David told us on last Monday evening, the Passover Seder, that was to rehearse what happened that first Passover. Jesus, in fact, did observe the Passover. It was a Passover Seder that night before he was crucified the next afternoon at 3 o'clock on the day of Passover. He was crucified on Passover. He was buried on unleavened bread, resurrected on first fruits. Those are the first three feast days of the Jewish people. And Jesus fulfilled those three feast days. Jesus Christ, in fact, it was the center of the focus of the prophecies in those Jewish feasts. But he will be the three feast days focus as well at the last of those feasts, the fall feast. He'll return on the Feast of Trumpets, not the rapture of the church, but he comes back to Jerusalem, plants his feet on the Mount of Olives, Zechariah 14:4, on the Feast of Trumpets, and that we know because of Matthew chapter 24, verse 31. Jesus says, take the trumpet and call a solemn assembly. That's what the Feast of Trumpets does. He will enter the Holy of Holies, going to Petra, gathering in the Jewish people, bringing them to Jerusalem by the way of the mountain to the east, going in the eastern gate, walking into the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur. That is national salvation for the Jewish people. And the kingdom begins on Tabernacles, and that, of course, will be that 1,000-year millennial kingdom we're talking about. All of Bible prophecy has a very significant close connection with Easter and with Passover. Jesus Christ resurrected. He said, I'm the one who was alive and dead, now stand before you alive. I can do what I said I can do. I am who I said I am. It's key to your understanding. But by the way, the next event is the rapture of the church, and that could happen at any moment. Having said that, there's basically nothing left for me to say, except let's keep looking up until